You know what these are? These are Lego blocks for efficient marine sump building. Hi all, welcome back. Sorry for the delay in this video. I think we got delayed by 3 weeks on the video on the media because there was an extensive travel which was lined up. So I visited a couple of very beautiful aquariums, for a research, and we are also very proud to be associated with the largest oceanarium in India, which is coming up. You would have seen the earlier video where I interviewed Rupesh Sakpal, who is actually the main architect for that aquarium. Anyway, sidetrack enough of it. So let's talk media today. Now, when it comes to media in a marine tank, you have to be very careful. If you have seen the first video in this series, we talked about how much media should you actually use in a marine aquarium. And we specifically spoke about rocks in the first video. So a lot of those principles continue. When it comes to choosing the media for your sump. And you have to understand that we add these media to provide, one, the basic filtration. Second, provide the housing for different types of bacteria to develop. And third, the whole alignment, the way you structure your sump will play on the long-term maturity of your marine tank. So, taking those principles from the video on rocks, number one principle when it comes to choosing media for your marine sump is either be natural as much as possible or nature identical. And specifically when I say natural and nature identical, be marine nature identical. So as we saw in the rocks, bulk of the rocks that you find in an ocean is either dead corals over centuries, which is basically argonite. We also spoke about underwater marine volcanoes basically spurring out the lava and that becoming your the rock structure in the sea, which is actually the host for the bacteria. So before we start looking at individual media, so let me give you some of the natural materials which are preferred. Number one being argonite. Argonite is nothing but the coral skeletal structure, calcium carbonate for that matter, which is the most abundant and the most porous preferred biofiltration that you can ever find. Second, we mentioned volcanic. So when a volcano erupts underwater, or even in nature, imagine that that scene which you see in movies and other things of a volcano erupting. So there is lava which is coming from the throat of the volcano, and there's lava which is flowing from the side. So the two different materials which form in an underwater volcano is pelillite and mephan. So these are again the most abundant rocks that you find under the sea. And you have certain other materials, like if you see the beach sand, a lot of times people talk about sand being silica, right? So you have kaolinite. So these are some of the materials which are naturally found in the ocean. So either you stick to any of these or nature identical with the same porosity, some fibrous materials to replicate certain porosity structures. And overall, some structure has to have a mix of all the marine elements, the spores and the pores and the holes and crevices, everything has to be replicated in a sump for you to develop different strains of bacteria, which can be, Nitrosomonas or Pseudomonas, the broader strain that we always speak about, and also housing for a lot of critters and pods, because that is going to set the maturity of your tank, and also feed a lot of your fishes and other smaller, inverts like your snails or mandarin fishes or anything and everything. So that becomes basically the housing for a lot of these things. The way I look at my sump structure, something like this should be the foundation stone of your sump. Why? This contains kind of medium porosity and also houses the central area, which can be slightly less aerobic or in certain situations anaerobic. And why I would prefer having an anaerobic pocket within my rocks or my media, unlike a sand, is because it's difficult to disturb this and release the the hydrogen sulfide, which can potentially get formed in sand. So something like this is called the biome block. I'm a very big fan of honeycomb structures, because these honeycomb structures actually replicate the smaller holes that are found in the reef. So the kind of bacteria that you find on the inner structures are aerobic, but their genetics are such that they actually consume a higher amount of nitrate. So these honeycomb structures with different porosity, if you actually see the 3 honeycomb structure that I have, all are actually different porosities and different materials. So this is typically your kaolinite or your ceramic kind of a structure. This is a fiber one and this is a hybrid one. Looser structures, I always prefer argonite balls like this one. And you have these cubes. They provide a very strong aerobic bacterial structure, whereas the smaller pores actually are better for the pseudomonas or the phosphate consuming bacteria. And you also have blocks with tighter pores, which are argonite and kaolinite mixed and methane mixed. So structures like this, smaller structure, bigger structure. So you basically, the way you build a sump is you use all these materials in a layer and do not keep it very even. It has to be a little bit of a randomness. Don't let your OCD take over. Let there be a random structure in the sump so that the flow of water, especially if you're using a DC pump and you're regulating the flow in your marine tank, the water is going to flow uneven and spend more time going through the media. So that is actually going to provide, if I, for example, if I put these 3 things in this order, the amount of time the water takes to go through the media is going to be much higher, unlike if I just set it up like a Lego block. Water will free flow through this. So that is something that you need to bear in mind. And once you have done your structure, now this is the final step in your sump building. Once you're done with your structures, go calculate, based on the formula which was given in the first video, which is around 110-120 grams per liter of water. If you're hitting that, great. And depending upon your load, you want to increase it or decrease it. Use media like this, the bars, basically to cover up the balance. So that's how you basically build your sump for efficient filtration, faster maturity, and creating that biodiversity not only in your bacteria but also on your critters and other organisms like pods to develop in your tank. So all of this media is anyways available in the site. So if you have any doubts regarding any of this media, shoot it in the comment. Happy to help. And in the next video, we are going to look at, I think, one of the most important topic in marine tank building, which is the best practices for cycling. Stay tuned. Thank you very much.